Alright, welcome back Generals and Admirals. This is General Johnny, and today we are going to do a map analysis on Riga Airport. And here we have Riga Airport, the overview map before the game. We'll go through real quick the agenda for today. We're going to do a macro and micro terrain analysis on this map. We'll start out with the overview map. We'll talk about the points needed to win 1 flag, 2 flags, and 3 flags, achievement points on the multiplayer. We'll talk about the 5 lanes that each player should be taking from both the south and the north, and then we'll move from the left to the right on both sides and talk about each lane, and we'll do a little bit of micro analysis on each of those lanes. So that's everything in store for today, and without further ado, we'll get this one started. Before we start our analysis on the map, I just wanted to mention this is one of the most, if not most popular maps on Broken Arrow. You can see here 163,000 matches have been played. I think the next highest is on Baltisk. It says here that the data is for spawn sides and not nation-specific win rates. So I take it as the blue and the red are supposed to be the blue and red spawns, so the south and north spawns respectively on Riga. And that's a 4.8 percentage point disparity on that win rate for those sides. So we'll take a look. Personally, I feel like the south side is more advantageous, but if the statistics are saying otherwise, then we'll just go with that. On to the map analysis. So starting off, Riga Airport is an 8x8 grid map. So that's 64 square grids. I believe each grid is a kilometer, so call it an even 64 square kilometer map, which I would categorize this as a medium to medium large map. There are 9 points alpha through India, and in order to get one of the objective flags, you need to achieve 50% of the objective. So that's going to be 5 flags or objectives. In order to get your second flag, you're going to need to have 6, and then in order to get the third flag, you're going to need to hold 7 objectives as a team. So next we'll look at the lanes from the south. So from the south, we have the lane number 1, which is going to be from the spawn point to Foxtrot. So pretty simple. You don't really want to push towards G. Instead, that player 1 will go towards Echo. Then lane 2 is just going to be straight down the left side of the airstrip onto Echo. For lane 3, we're going to go straight from the spawn to Delta. You're going to push through Delta into Bravo, and rarely do you really want to push into Alpha unless you're really winning. So that's lane 3. On to lane 4. Lane 4, you're going to push on the back side of this plateau, and you're going to hit into Charlie. And our 5th player, lane 5, is going to go onto the far right flank. They're going to capture India and put pressure on Hotel. If they're not able to get onto Hotel, they'll pressure onto Charlie. That's all 5 lanes for the south. In the north, you will want to have from left to right. Your player 1 will move straight to Hotel down the highway. Your player 2 will move to the Charlie point and hold the backside of Charlie. Player 3 will move to Alpha, then to Bravo, and again, not to overextend onto Delta. Lane 4 on the north side will go straight to Echo, and lane 5 will go to Golf and assist onto Echo when available. So those are your 5 lanes for the north. Now, what do you want to hold from the south side? So from the south side, you want to hold the objectives from left to right: Foxtrot, Echo, Bravo, Delta, Charlie, Hotel, and India. If you hold those 7 points, you hold all 3 flags. If you're to give up one of those points, it is going to be either Hotel or Echo, preferably Hotel. If you're going to give up 2 points, it will be Hotel and Echo. If you're going to give up 3 points and you're just going to play an even game, you're going to give up Hotel, Charlie, and Echo. So then you will hold Foxtrot, Bravo, Delta, and India. From the north side, it's a very similar situation. The full 3 flags by capturing 7 points, you're going to want to hold onto Golf, Echo, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Hotel. And your last point is going to either be India or Delta, preferably Delta. Now, if you're going to give up one of those points, it is going to be most likely Echo. If you're going to give up another point, it will be most likely India. So that's the point and the lines that you want to establish on both the north and south spawn. We've gone over the lanes from our macro analysis on the map. Now we're going to head on into the actual map and talk about some of the lanes and the micro terrain for each of the lanes. All right, so here we are on Riga Airport, and we're gonna go ahead and I'll just show you how the points work by deploying real quick on these helicopters. We have a easy AI on this, so not really a whole lot to micro, but we'll go through the lanes first on the south side just because that's where we're at, and then we will go onto the north side, go through the lanes, and talk about each of the micro terrain that you're going to need to be familiar with in order to do well or improve your play on this map. So right now I'm deploying to all the points. If you are playing this 100% correct and you are fully extended, you will have captured these points as we went over prior. So first off, player 1, we'll call them, we'll start out at the spawn. They'll go straight to F and they'll go onto E to support player 2. So player 2 will go again straight to E. Player 3 will take the airstrip, hug these buildings, go on to D up to, I believe that's B over there. As you go to C, so Charlie will be player 3. You're going to go to the right, and I like to come up right behind onto those woods, as we were saying before. And then player 5 will be the far flank out to I, and then push to hotel. So again, that is all of the positions: 1, 2, 3, player 4, and player 5, as I said before. From left to right, we'll go through kind of the view and how each player is supposed to deal with the micro terrain. So out on F, you can see it's pretty much, this flank is, you don't really want to push it. So a lot of people will try pushing through here. It's just really not worth the effort, especially because this is a plateau. You can kind of position some guys here and in these woods to kind of dominate that side of the plateau, but I just really don't think it's worth it. Enough of the fight is onto E, so I highly recommend, this is some pretty wonky terrain out here on the left flank, so I highly recommend that you kind of just leave it alone and do what you can to help your teammate out on Echo. So out on Echo, you can kind of see this is really where most of the action is, and a lot of it's dominated by this wood, this forest in the north area, okay, towards red spawn. And as you can see, you are kind of exposed out to the right side here. So just be careful of that as you are playing Echo. That's why usually double up on this, and we'll talk about what G does and how that falls into the left flank. So that's pretty much everything on the left flank. On the middle flank, remember, usually one player, you can double up on this if you'd want. I would suggest practicing that with a team, or if you have a stack that you play with, you can kind of do this. But Delta to Bravo, I'd say the south side has the advantage if they can establish themselves on the backside of this. Bravo probably hit into these buildings. These buildings kind of work both ways, but really what makes it kind of difficult for Alpha is the fact that they don't have these buildings that kind of extend and provide cover for your advance. They really only have these planes and this one building, so they're advancing over open terrain through this whole area there. So that's the difficult part if you are in the south or the north spawn, which we'll talk a little bit later. So that's pretty much everything in the center. As we look to center right, just keep in mind these woods get occupied pretty often, put supplies in there. So a lot of times the south team will bomb this because they know that the north team is occupying this woods. So just beware of that. But there are some good buildings to hold, particularly these and these two as well, that are really good for defending pretty much all of this open area to the middle right. As we move on to Charlie, the most important thing about Charlie are going to be these woods. So these 3 woods are really important to the south player. If you do not have them, as in the north player pushes you off of them, then you're going to have some issues. So definitely play those. The advantage here is that you can position some ATGMs or what have you in these woods, and you can pretty much dominate this lane and can shoot down onto the enemy at this forest. Even the AI is kind of playing it there, so it is very advantageous to have that. And then these woods as well. Whenever you're trying to hold a point, you never want to be directly on the point. You want to be within a cover and conceal position outside the point. So, you know, if it's this building and as soon as they start to decap, you can run yourself onto right here in still a cover and conceal area. So that is pretty much Charlie. Just keep in mind that they have this slope here that the north side can use to their advantage. It's kind of an awkward slope because it is exposed to this building, but it is protected from most of the forest that we were discussing earlier. And out to the right flank usually gets played a lot slower. You will usually be playing on both sides by yourself. There are a lot of opportunities to flank. You can see how far out this map goes on the right flank, and no one really ever plays over here. So there is potential that you can send some helicopters or whatever you want, some recon over here. As a defender, we'll talk soon, you know, you might want to post up some recon or maybe some man pads in these buildings to kind of deter that from happening. But from India, you definitely get India off the bat. You do have this kind of highway that as you can see, the terrain does dip down, so it gives you a little bit of defilade there. And you have pretty much a straight shot into hotel. Now, I think the advance onto hotel is not too bad, personally, but the hotel does have an advantage of these woods that are really hard to take over. And then they also have this back slope here, as you can see, that they can hold on to, but works both ways. I think if you're going to attack from India, it also benefits to have maybe some recon ATGMs or what have you aiming down from this forest, at least scouting, and you know, maybe firing some missiles or tow missiles as well would be good from this viewpoint. All right, so that's everything on the south side. We'll go ahead and quickly flip to the north side, the north perspective. Okay, so we'll go through each of the lanes like we did before, and then we'll talk about each of the micro from the north side. So from the north side, player one will start out. You'll go from straight to hotel. That will be player one's route. Player two will go straight to Charlie. Okay, player three will go to Alpha, and then they'll push to Bravo, if that is Bravo. And then you're going to push with player four onto Echo, and then player five will take this far flank onto Gulf. Similarly, they'll go from Gulf to the right flank of Echo to assess their teammate there. So those are the kind of lanes from the northern perspective of things. And going over back left to right from hotel. Okay, so the advance here is actually, it's a highway. So it's pretty quick in my opinion. It's probably one of the further points, but because of that highway, I think it does, you know, the movement is pretty quick. The only problem is when you go to Charlie, sometimes it'll send you around here. This can be kind of an exposed area if you're not defending it well. But from the hotel perspective, I don't usually play hotel too much. This building is pretty important. You can really micro a lot of vehicles in and out of these areas. In my opinion, if the enemy from India gets AT infantry here, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to hold, in my opinion. I think there's still value in flanking, even, you know, from this side. You can hit one of these high towers in the back and get some recon, sneak some recon in the back over there. The woods, I don't really like getting bogged down in these woods. I don't think there's as much an advantage from the hotel side or from the north side on a hotel as there is from the India or the south side going from India to hotel. But if you do capture a hotel and you hold it strong, like I discussed earlier, I think it's more beneficial to help out your teammate on Charlie than it is to push into India. For the Charlie perspective of things, again, just watch where your resupply, and this really goes for all maps, but this map specifically, watch where your resupply routes go and your reinforcement routes. They can take either one of these two routes I have highlighted here, but it's just good to be aware of kind of where that is, that if there is any danger en route, they're not getting killed before they get to the battle. Charlie is a very tricky point from this perspective. You know, you probably want to take this forest. There's good lines of sight and fields of fire from this. I like to put infantry or ATGMs and recon in these two buildings as well. And you'll often want to help out onto the Bravo player from here if you can, if the situation allows for that. This is, you want to put probably some resupplies in this forest, and then this forest is good for, even as the AI has some artillery positions, probably a SAM site somewhere in there, Pack 2 or S300. I would definitely suggest taking over these forest positions and then pushing into, really, if you can own the backside of these buildings with infantry, and this building specifically, then you're going to be in good shape. I would not keep your armor sitting too much in this area, okay? I would keep it maybe in this forest, and then you can push it over to help out if the infantry does arrive. The only issue, again, is you're really exposed from this field of fire onto the backside of this kind of ridge, or this kind of slope that they have here. So just be aware of that when you're playing Charlie. So that's pretty much everything I have on the left flank of the north side. And again, pushing to Alpha to Bravo, there's a few tips that you can kind of look at here. Again, these are very important buildings. If you can get these and set up infantry, you pretty much dominate no man's land here and here, and it makes it kind of difficult for them to push down this road like they probably want to. You are exposed, both sides are kind of exposed to flanking fire, so just be aware of that across the airstrip. And then, like I said, it's kind of difficult if the enemy does have Bravo here. It's kind of difficult to push open across all this kind of open terrain here in the middle between Alpha and Bravo. So just be aware of that. I think it does make that a little bit more difficult. And it might be smart to put a sniper on both sides, north and south in the middle here. It won't really get spotted. I feel like a lot of people kind of predict that now, though, and they'll check. This is actually a pretty good spot I've seen with the sniper as well. If you're thinking about putting some SAM sites for the middle, this is fine. Over here, just make sure you have some kind of SHORAD to protect it as well. But that's pretty much everything I have for Alpha and Bravo. As far as Echo, again, you really just need to dominate this forest. If you can get on the other side of Echo and kind of own these two forests, that kind of helps as well. But you don't want to be stagnant in these buildings. You kind of just want to hit them, take over the point, and then get off of them, because that whole entire area will end up getting shelled by all sorts of artillery if you're too stagnant on that position. And again, same thing holds for this kind of flank over here, and you can kind of see the wonky terrain here and kind of how it goes up and down. It has different ledges and fields of fire. It's like several plateaus like overlooking each other, and kind of a weird triangle type shape. I really don't even fully understand it, how it makes sense. But yeah, my biggest piece of advice, you can kind of screen off to this right side onto G, maybe put some things in AT, infantry, some recon in these forests, and then push over from Golf to Echo, again, from here, or really just deploy up into Echo from the get-go after you've kind of established a defense on Golf. But that's kind of what I would advise. You could flank on the far right if you so choose, but that's pretty much everything. So I've gone over all the micro terrain, the macro analysis on the overview map. We've kind of hit a lot of the micro terrain on the actual map. So that's everything I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in to the map analysis. We'll do every single map on Broken Arrow, so make sure to like and subscribe and tune in for our next map analysis. Thank you, and see you next time.